Chapter 10, Section 3, Other Patterns of Inheritance. Learning objectives. Describe some of the exceptions to Mendel's principles. Explain the environment's role in the way genes determine traits. Most genes do not behave quite so neatly as the two-gene pattern of simple dominance shown by Mendel's P's. Many genes are quite a bit more complicated. A cross between 4 o'clock or Mirabilis jalapapa plants shown here shows a common exception to Mendel's principle. Some alleles are neither completely dominant nor recessive. The F1 generation produced by a cross between the red flowers and the white flowers of this plant consists of pink-colored flowers. Which allele is dominant in this case? Neither one. Cases in which one allele is not completely dominant over another are called incomplete dominance. In incomplete dominance, the heterozygous phenotype lies somewhere in between the two homozygous phenotypes. A similar situation arises from codominance. Codominance is a situation in which the phenotypes produced by both alleles are clearly expressed. For example, in certain varieties of chickens, the allele for black feathers is codominant with the allele for white feathers. Heterozygous chickens have a color described as erminate. This is speckled with black and white feathers. Unlike the blending of red and white colors in the flowers shown on the previous slide, black and white colors appear separate in chickens. Many human genes, including one for the protein that controls cholesterol levels in blood, show codominance as well. So far, our examples have described genes for which there are only two alleles, such as a small a and a big A. In nature, such genes are the exception rather than the rule. Many genes exist in several different forms and are therefore said to have multiple alleles. A gene with more than two alleles is said to have multiple alleles. An individual, of course, usually has only two copies of each gene, but many different alleles are often found within a population. One of the best known examples is coat color in rabbits. A rabbit's coat color is determined by a single gene that has at least 4 different alleles. The 4 known alleles display a color pattern of simple dominance that can produce 4 coat colors. Many other genes have multiple alleles, including the human genes for blood type, which we know are A, B, and O. Many traits are produced by the inheritance of several genes. Traits controlled by 2 or more genes are said to be polygenic traits, meaning many genes. At least 2 and as many as a dozen genes are responsible for the many different shades of human eye color. As you might expect, polygenic traits often show a wide range of phenotypes. Some traits follow non-Mendelian patterns of inheritance. What causes maternal inheritance, or chromosomes X genes? Chloroplasts and mitochondria contain genes of their own on small DNA molecules within both organelles. Chloroplasts in the morning glory plant are inherited from the egg cell, and these determine the leaf colors of the offspring. Similarly, human mitochondria are inherited from the mother's egg cell. As a result, genetic disorders in human mitochondrial DNA also follow a pattern of paternal inheritance. Remember that females have 2 copies of an X chromosome, while males only have 1 copy of an X chromosome, and they have 1 copy of a Y chromosome. Because males only have 1 X chromosome, many genes that are on it will be present. This is because there isn't a backup copy of the gene or another X chromosome to mask it if it's recessive, like women have. Men also have their own special Y chromosome that women don't possess. Another source of non-Mendelian inheritance is caused by chemical modification of certain genes, a process known as genetic imprinting. In mice, for example, a gene regulating body size is imprinted in a way that silences it in the next generation, whenever it is carried by a female. Mice inherited the gene from their mothers may suffer from dwarfinism. However, mice inherited the very same gene from their fathers do not. Genetic imprinting occurs in many human genes as well. The characteristics of any organism, whether plant, fruit fly, or human being, are not determined solely by the genes that the organism inherits. Genes provide a plan for development, but how the plan unfolds also depends on the environment. In other words, the phenotype of an organism is only partly determined by its genotype. Environmental conditions can affect gene expression and influence genetically determined traits. An individual's actual phenotype is influenced by its environment as well as its genes.